Hi guys, welcome to episode 3. Hello girls.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm getting my setup fixing.
Same.
So excited for this podcast. Guys, this is Dateability. They are sisters that created an app for dating. I'm Courtney. I had a stroke and I have muscular dystrophy, and I wanted to connect with all around the disability community. So this episode is them. So can you tell the viewers about you guys?
Yes. So hi everyone. I'm Jacqueline, and I am disabled due to chronic illness, and I've been disabled for almost 16 years now. And you know, I went through a lot of different feelings about being disabled, as many people do, and I never really identified with it until I was out of college, and I really began to see the discrimination that I was facing, and just how important it was to have a community around me that we could relate to. And so when after college, I started dating and on the dating apps, and I realized that people will just swipe on to the next person once they either find out I have a disability, or if I start to get to know them, and or they'll say really offensive comments.
Yeah.
And I would change that for the world's largest minority. And I'll let Alexa introduce herself.
Okay.
I'm Jacqueline's older sister, and I am not disabled, but I have watched Jacqueline go through her social experiences as a disabled person, and watch how that's affected her self-worth and her what she sees when looking back at her in the mirror, her reflection. And she could never see what I saw, and it was mainly and largely in part due to these people on the dating apps that would just make these offensive comments and reject her and make her feel unworthy and unattractive. And I really wanted to change that and make her and everyone like her in the disability community realize that they're worthy of love, they deserve love, they are attractive, and then also change the conversation around intimacy and disability among the able-bodied community, because there is a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings and a lot of discrimination. So I think it's important to have those conversations as well.
I agree.
Yeah, it's learned just how uncomfortable disability makes people, and especially disability and intimacy.
Absolutely.
Like, people can't fathom that disabled people want love or
Yeah.
have relationships. And so it's really important that we contribute to the already present conversations and change a lot of viewpoints.
It's wild that people don't realize that we're worthy of love and intimacy. I had the same problems throughout high school and college. It got really horrible in college. Just like discrimination and talking back, and just like harassment. Oh, like, can you have sex? Come on, guys. That's not like, fair to us. The one question that you have to say, it's like, can you have sex? Hi, nice to meet you.
You're like, and what's your name? Yeah, it's, and I don't think there's one disabled person out there who has not faced these blatant forms of discrimination. Mm-hmm. There's just so many people who, and whether it comes from just ignorance or with malicious intent, doesn't really matter. It all feels as equally horrible to us.
Yeah, it's brutal, and I love what you're doing, and I amend you to do this because it's needed. I go on Bumble and TikTok, not TikTok, but Tinder, and it's the same shit, and it's like really frustrating.
It is, and it's really, like, of course there's user ableism, but then all the apps are also not helping the cause. No. And we heard from users who aren't able to verify their profile and Bumble refuses to accommodate
Yep.
any other way of verification. And that's just, there is not one thing that is going to work for everyone.
Yeah.
This is our
Aw.
one thing that's going to work for everyone. And it's really frustrating that there's no flexibility or accessibility among these companies that have,
and they claim they have the resources, and
Yeah.
they also really care about diversity and equity and inclusion, but it's just a lot of it's, you know, for show, or it is, you know, they care about certain forms of diversity, and I feel like disability is often excluded from the diversity conversation. And the thing about that is that there's so much intersectionality that if you include diversity, you're automatically including sexuality and race disability. You're automatically including sexuality and race and all the other minorities, and so you're being even more diverse. But you know, people seem to lose that point and forget that, or not realize, or not care. I'm not sure, but
yeah, it's just challenging nowadays. You know, even with COVID, like, you know, I didn't really go out, so I was just like, oh, like, I'm gonna go on Bumble and, you know, check it out. But again, it's just like back to the, you know, drawing boards, kind of frustrating. And I explained to my able-bodied friends, and they're like, oh, no, just try again. I'm like, no, it's actually frustrating. I don't, like, when I go on Bumble or Tinder or Hinge, I get anxiety because I know what these dudes are going to say to me.
I mean, someone told us that they joined the Bumble paid subscription, and that basically they were just paying to get harassed.
Yep.
And it
true.
realize how traumatizing it is. And after these experiences happened, I just would never want to go back again. And so I would like talk to one person and it would go south, and then that would sour my whole experience for 6 months, and then I'd finally like, okay,
I'm sorry, your dog just burped in my face.
And so I was just like, I don't want to go on just to get harassed and to never feel like I'm worthy of these people. And I was really starting to internalize that. Like, like, I mean, I'd begin to think, you know what? Maybe it is like way too stressful to date me. Right. And like, why would anyone want to date me when I have to do this, and this? And it's a very sad feeling to feel about yourself.
I feel like the dating apps for you were not even, they were frustrating, but they're also really hurtful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, frustrating for everybody. They have, you know, dating is, you know, not the most fun thing for most people, but it's just like a different level.
Yeah, I was saying to my friends, I'm like, they would never say this to our face. It's all, you know, like type warriors. They'll never say to my face the things that like they harass us, you know?
Yeah, it's really frustrating. And I mean, we just knew that I wasn't alone, even though I felt alone for many years. And I was just very embarrassed to admit what was happening, because who wants to tell people that, oh, you're being rejected, people don't like me because I'm disabled. That's just I felt very embarrassed. And so while I knew it wasn't alone, I felt it, and we wanted to change that. We just were like, over 60 million adults in the US are disabled.
Yeah.
Why is there a dating app?
Right. So how did you start your dating app, like, you know, building this dating app?
Yeah, so had our ups and downs with finding a developer. Neither of us have any coding or app building at all, not at all.
No.
Jacqueline had some graphic design experience, and you're more tech savvy than I am, so that helps. So we first started by drafting on a piece of paper what we wanted each page of the app to look like, the icons, you know, our name. And then we found a developer. That didn't work out after like 6 months, and we had to start all over again from scratch. And find a consulting company that builds apps 30 minutes from where we live.
Oh, great.
Really, they believe in our mission. They really like what we're doing. And so they were very flexible because we are a bootstrapped app. And they are, still with us today. We're, building and improving on the app and fixing any glitch or bugs or anything. So, and everything. And so that is how we built the app. It took almost a year.
Okay.
So total. Actually pretty fast, I think.
Yeah.
Especially if I had to start over halfway through. It's definitely a learning curve. I've learned a ton. Being an entrepreneur is super weird. So many things that I didn't know or didn't realize. But it's been a great year. We're very happy. And I can't believe our 1-year anniversary is coming up very soon.
Oh, wow. So 1 year.
Yeah, and October, end of October, it'll be 1 year. And yeah, we're really proud. And it's really interesting to see the disabled representation within the entrepreneurial world, because, well, it's not a lack of disabled people wanting to be entrepreneurs, but the world makes it very hard. And we've learned that with just access to funding, people just really forget about the disabled community.
Yep.
And it's hard. It's a lot of times we'll have to fill out these forms, and it's do you identify with any of these minorities? And disabilities, 99% of the time, not on there.
Wow.
And it's really frustrating because we want to be not only change the experience in the dating world in the romantic way, but in the business world too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally feel that. I mean, again, my coloring book, I just entrepreneur was just okay, I just have to learn with it, and whatever happens, happens. But again, what you're saying, there's no disability empowerment about entrepreneur. I mean, I've never seen that until my coloring book. And I have one friend that has muscular dystrophy, and she has a color kids book, but that was the only person that I knew.
Yeah, it's the representation is lacking, and representation across the board in media, in pop culture, everything. And I think it's the perfect time to start changing that. And I'm hopeful that things are going to be different. Just people are really starting to talk about inclusivity more.
Yeah.
And with the pandemic, people are at least recognizing that there are disabled people and that there's more disabled people coming in with the pandemic. But it's a very hard world out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. It's so awesome because all my friends were oh, let's, make a dating app and, for disabled, people, but that's expensive and a lot of time. So I applaud you to do this because my therapist suggestion your app because I was just complaining about dating. So my therapist is oh, I think my friend does this app, you should look it up. And I'm oh my God, that's awesome that my therapist actually knew it. So she was oh, did you go on the Dateability? I was actually, I'm interviewing them. So it's cool that, again, that we're inclusivity and, keeping on to extend, the longevity of including people.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Had you ever been interested in dating another disabled person, with what disability?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, I mean, growing up, I only had able-bodied friends, so I didn't really know about dating a chronic illness or a spinal cord injury until social media. I think in college, I was oh, that's cool. I would totally date a person that knows the field and, what we're doing. And it's not easy to have a disability. But yeah, I think, yeah, I would definitely, date a guy or a girl that has a disability.
Yeah, it's really, I think like the most hopeful part of this is like just meeting people who have this shared experience, whether like it's a completely different disability. We all shared understanding and even like unspoken understanding that being disabled is hard, and that like we can get through it together. And disability is so diverse. I think there are some
so diverse.
Yeah, like some people out there who, like we've read on the internet, they're like, I would never date someone else with a disability because I already have these limitations, and then it would add to, it would make things very complicated. And I just like, I encourage these people to think like that it's a little short-sighted, because disability is so diverse. There's physical,
so diverse,
intellectual disability, psychiatric disability,
Yep.
and they all manifest so differently. And but at the core of it, it's a disability.
Absolutely.
And so we can,
yeah, it's why I'm doing this podcast, because growing up I had a physical disability, and then after the stroke I had a invisible disability, and then PTSD. I have 3 disabilities, so now I'm like, okay, like I get it all, and I'm kind of glad that I get it all, because as you said, like there's people that have so many chronic illness, invisible illness, and it's cool that like people are opening up. I think TikTok really helped me in the pandemic, because I'm from Long Island, New York, and it's a area, so I was like the only one that had muscular dystrophy growing up. So I didn't really knew about anything until like social media, Facebook, but even still until like the pandemic. Now I'm like following so many girls or guys that have a disability around the world. So it's really cool that we can learn on TikTok.
I know it's really, it's like being able to connect with people is so incredible. And I really think that it helps combat the isolation. And
yes,
during the pandemic, like it's been isolating
yep.
for people, and it's just that connection is so important. And that's something
so important.
Yeah, we're really stressing that with people. It's like humans have this need to connect, and it's within our, and we all crave it, and
yep.
like it shouldn't be undervalued.
No.
A dating app shouldn't be like this like flippant, frivolous thing. It's like it's just like we all want love, and love it.
Yeah, I think like after college you get lonely because your community in college, like I went to Tampa, and like all my friends are in Tampa, and like now I'm like, okay, like I do my job, I love my design, but again, like I really I want a relationship to like go on dates, and just like as you said, like connection. I'm very like a social butterfly, like I want to travel the world, but it's just frustrating, because as you said, we want to connect, but these guys or girls, I think it's the guys, I really don't I really don't have like girl experience, but these guys in Long Island, they're just like so like I don't know, like I guess like just like they want the Instagram model. When I talk to my therapist, and it's just like I can't be on that Instagram model, but I'm me, like I'm funny, I have a job, like they actually, like I think people don't realize that disability people have their whole life like figure it out. I mean, I have a job, I have a coloring book, I'm not like you know, like relying on my mom's money. So it's just kind of crazy because they think that we don't have like a life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I also think that people forget that you can become disabled in time. So, you know, I'm not disabled today, but that doesn't mean I won't be disabled, you know, in a month from now, in a year from now. And if all you're looking for in a partner is someone who's not disabled, are you going to be married for 60 years? Because most people age into disability. So whether if they're disabled when they're younger, they're going when they're older. And what are you going to do then? So I think people forget that as well. And I mean, at least for me, Jacqueline has been through so much, and together we've been through so much, and we've been able to power through. And I think that makes us really resilient and strong people. And so I have like very little patience or tolerance for people who get very stressed and they freak out over like the most minor inconveniences. And I know that it's a little harsh sometimes. I can be like, oh, I can sometimes be a little bit protective, but I would so much rather date somebody with the ability to cope and handle obstacles, because life is not easy for anybody. Nope. And so for Jacqueline, like, you know that she's not going to just back down or crumble or just like be a mess. She's going to power through because she's already been through so much. And I feel like that's a really good quality to have in a partner personally. Like,
it's really, I totally agree. I think the resilience is like, okay, whatever, you know, happens, that's life, and we'll move ahead, you know. And like you're saying, like you literally like developed an app. Like that's really cool that, you know, that the challenges in society, you're like, okay, like let's correct the, you know, society. Or
and I think that dating apps for sure have made things more difficult for disabled people. I see that like generationally. We see a lot of people who dating apps, and one's disabled and one's not, and because like they didn't feel like they had all of the options at their fingertips, and so it's definitely made more difficult for us, but I'm hoping to correct that so that it doesn't have to be so intimidating and so scary, traumatic, because it is traumatic when you're being against. And I think that a lot of non-disabled people don't realize just how hurtful a comment can be, and it's not something like we shouldn't have to like grow thick skin over it. Like it's just unacceptable. Shouldn't be told like, oh, like the next person you'll find special who appreciates you. It's like, I just like don't want to be harassed. I just
exactly, literally
like you and be in love with you and want to marry you. You just really like don't want anyone to discriminate against you or tell you that you shouldn't have kids because you can pass along your chronic illness. Like that's really like all you want. Which like that's really not big ass.
No, it's not. And I was like talking to my therapist. I love my therapist, but I was just like, I want to just get coffee with these guys, and that's so hard to ask for. I'm like, it's not really a big asking to get coffee.
I know, and it for me it felt like I just like none of these people would give me the opportunity to like prove myself, even though I didn't have to. But like if I was to disclose before meeting, I was like, but you just don't know me. Like, how can you say you're not interested when you don't know?
Exactly. They don't exactly.
Yeah, it's hard, and I know that there's, you know, the dating experience for people with visible disabilities is also different than visible disabilities. And so it's very interesting.
And it's hard to, you know, talk about your disability, you know, it's invisible. I don't want to, like, you know, put that on the first topic. Oh, I have a, you know, physical, oh my God, I can't talk, invisible disability. And when I was younger, I didn't even put my wheelchair in my Bumble because I was kind of mortified because I was like, you know, having these, you know, mishaps or like, oh, you're, you know, you can walk or blah, blah, blah. But no, accept my disability. I'm like, what the heck? I'm in wheelchair anyway, like just show it. And yeah, like even like thinking about, you know, invisible illnesses with my stroke and a TBI, like I don't really talk about it. Like it's not my woohoo, like I'm gonna talk about my stroke. Like that was 6 years ago. But it is obviously my personality, but like I'm not gonna sit around and talk about my disability.
Yeah. And I, at one point, I added something to, I think, my Hinge profile
Before Dateability.
yeah, a couple years ago. And it was like, I kind of, some sort of chronic illness joke with one of the prompts because I was just so discouraged and didn't receive a like for like
Yeah.
2 until I deleted that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to see it. And it was a fun little experiment. Like, yeah, I'm not disclosing disability right away and I'm getting rejected, and then I'm disclosing my disability right away and I'm still getting rejected. And so there was never a good scenario.
No.
Never made for a healthy dating
And that's,
experience.
I mean, it's you don't feel like you can put that, or you didn't feel like you could put a picture of you in your wheelchair. Like that's sad and not fair. And that's why when we, you know, created Dateability, we didn't want like just the mission to be for disabled people. I was like, we both said, okay, how can we make the actual app and the matching process and everything really cater to people with disabilities? And so we came up with Dateability Deets, and you know that's an extensive list of broad terms like wheelchair user, immunocompromised, permanent medical device.
I love that.
And I think it's so important because I don't think anybody with a disability should feel ashamed
Nope.
they're disabled. That is something that they should not be ashamed about. And I also think it's kind of reduces the anxiety, even though the people that you are matching with on Dateability, like 99% of them are going to be disabled. So there's less of that. I think there's so much trauma from the other apps that there's still going to be anxiety. And so it's important to just put it out there. And of course it's optional and there's no, but like we want to respect boundaries, but the majority of our users do fill it out and they love it. And I think that's really important because it just, bums me out to hear people feel like they can't be themselves on the app, and then you on the other apps, and then you hear from like dating coaches you need to be your authentic self on your profile, but then when your authentic self gets that's an issue,
right?
Then what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, and it's just like I don't mind to educate the people with my disability. Like I love educating them, but ask me in a nice way. Like I don't want to get harassed and like close, you know, I have to tell him about my stroke. Like I just want to educate you. If you have questions, like ask me. I love to educate, you know, someone. But harassing me and like just saying these crazy like, you know, first line, I'm like, okay, I'm just not gonna educate you. Like that's pointless.
Right. Yeah. I think I really struggled with figuring out how to disclose. My therapist would always say, like, disclose when it's relevant, because I don't need to tell someone your entire life story if it's not relevant. And sometimes that would come up really quickly and sometimes it wouldn't. And what I've learned is just like not everyone is deserving of that information. And it was something that I learned that like I don't have to tell everyone, and people like have to earn that information because it's personal.
I mean there's stuff about that disclose on the first date or the second date. It's just not anyone's business until there's some kind of trust. But I also think like you should be able to say like I'm chronically ill. That doesn't mean you have to go into your diagnosis. It does not your symptoms. But I do think it is, you know, it comes up pretty quickly, especially when prior to Dateability, somebody asks you what you do for work. That's something that comes up. So, and I think it should be okay if you're chronically And I also think educating people is okay. Like, I mean, Jacqueline, I'm Jacqueline's sister, and I still have questions for you. I don't know. I'm not going to know everything. I'm not like, a doctor, and even other doctors don't know everything, and they have questions for you. So I think that's okay, but it's the way you go about it. And also, like, why do you want to know? Is it because you want to understand, maybe like be more accommodating, or are you just like this like weird curiosity, nosiness, like just not not the greatest intentions? Because there are definitely people who will ask inappropriate questions or ask questions for the wrong reasons.
So I experienced that. Someone was very clearly asking about how my disabilities manifest because they wanted to know if I was like too disabled for them, and it was like very clear that that's where they were going. Like they wanted to know what I could do and what my limitations were, because if it didn't fit their life, then they weren't interested. And so it's we're just like,
I think this age, it's kind of like I'm 28 and I don't want to have kids of my own, but I'm not like against adopting. And I think that is another challenge that we have to like talk about, because I can't carry a baby like on my own and it's very dangerous. But I'm not gonna like say, oh, I don't want a kid ever. Like that's just like, that's not like, I don't wanna like talk about how my body doesn't want to get pregnant. But in the future, like I don't mind adopting, or just, I don't know, like another thing that we have to think about.
And I'm in the same boat as you, and it's very interesting the questions that we received because of our disabilities versus like no one's asking Alexa on the like if she's capable of having kids. But and it's like, and so the questions are totally different.
Or there's just a difference in response. Like I'm 33 now, and then I don't want kids, like not like at all. I'm like just not. But because like my choice, I just don't want kids. There's like a different reaction that I can't have kids, and so interesting to see the way people react. And I always thought like it would be not the opposite, but different, because women are supposed to be maternal, and so I always thought me being like, oh, I don't want kids, people would look at me and be like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, do you not have the empathy gene or something? Like, why? But no, it's just like all about like, there's just so much discrimination against disability that you away, like you add in like, oh, I can't because of XYZ, and it's just like the biggest, I don't know, there's just people are cruel, people are like idiots to just like be frank, like they really are.
No, it's the truth. And I think your app is gonna in the future like help so many disabled individuals in the US. I mean, this is like a topic that I talk about with my disability friends. They're like, oh my God, it's so hard and blah, blah, blah. So platform like your disabled, app is very, very cool, because in the future, like I want that to be like the standard, like Hinge or Bumble,
Absolutely. That's our goal too. And we want everyone who is looking for something like this to know about it. And it is really nice to hear like people and organizations say, like dating comes up all the time, and now we can finally say, oh, well, like there's dateability.
Right.
And because before they would be like, oh, well, maybe just do this and this and
or be yourself.
Just
like,
be yourself.
Don't
be right.
And you get discriminated against. Like
so,
easier said than done, for sure. No, we want to be like, we always say the what Grindr did for the gay community. We want to for the disability community and provide this safe and inclusive space to meet one another, and it's an accessible space. We have a web app in addition to the mobile apps. We want everyone to be able to access. We know that the world really, like, overall is not accessible. It's harder for, in my opinion, disabled people to meet people in person, especially with the pandemic that like added in a whole another layer. And this is just an easier way to do that. I mean, the apps did, in general, dating apps made it a lot easier to meet people. And so we just want to do the same for, like Jacqueline said, the world's largest minority. Over 25% of the US is disabled. That's a huge number, which
huge.
no one believes us when we tell them, like a non-disabled person, if we tell them that, they're like, where'd you get that number? Yeah. And then you add in long COVID, which is like 23 million in the US are now faced with the new reality. So the number is higher, like in a few years from now. And so it's crazy. There is literally an app for astrology lovers and like meme fanatics, I guess, which is one for disabled and chronically ill people, and able-bodied people can join too. Like we just, it's it's sad that it hasn't been done, but we're also really happy and honored to be the only one out there and making and
that's a huge step.
And it was really important for us to make it free. Just like we don't expect people to pay for this brand new app where like no one knows what they're gonna get when they sign up for it, and we always believe that there should be a free version for forever. And so that we can promise the community that there will always be a free version.
That's awesome.
And we didn't want to charge also because we are growing our user base. I've realized in the tech world, a lot of like startups buy their users to boost them. Really interesting, not just like dating apps, like all across the board. And it helps with fundraising, it helps with a whole lot of things. We do not want to do that. So if that means that there are growing pains and frustrations, we have almost 8,000 users in 10 months. That's, we're very, very happy about that. We can't wait until we get even, do some paid marketing and get even more. Our, comparatively, our user base is still small. And so to charge somebody for that didn't feel right to us. We really want to gain the trust of the community, and we want to grow and make it the best app it can be. And so for right now, that means that it's totally free.
Yeah. And so it's
so cool.
Thank you. It's just really important that everyone keeps spreading the word and just sharing with people, because I think that everyone knows someone with a chronic illness or a disability. And if they're single, I mean, what do you have to lose?
Even if they're not about their dating experiences, like Jacqueline didn't tell her friends, what was happening on the app. So even if you think they're not struggling, or maybe they don't want a relationship, you don't really know. Like Jacqueline said, there was so much embarrassment around it, which, is also not fair, because there's the people who should be embarrassed are the people treating you that way. But it's more complicated. But I think, just spread the word and recommend it to everyone. We also, eventually want to add a friendship feature for platonic.
I was gonna say that. I mean, it's great because I did it, and I was like, on this app, and I was like, oh, this is so cool that, all around the country there's, disabled users that are disabled. So it's cool that if you don't want a relationship, you can just be friends with, your match. So that's a cool, area that you're going to do.
Yeah, we want to make that like more official, and have it probably be separate from the dating app, so that people who are tips don't feel like they're joining a dating app. Right. I think right now is across the country, spread out, and that your match doesn't live in the city that you live in. But I think there's, with technology now, that's okay. It's a really great way to establish trust. I know, at least from the friend view, like none of my closest friends live in the city that I live in anymore. We've all, so even, from that point of view, we have we all now in relationships.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. And, we have social media, and let's use it for a good cause, and help people that are, so frustrated and, talking about this so much. And it's so cool that, my therapist recommended me this app. So I'm perplexed. Like, you just started this app a year ago. So it's great that my therapist literally knows about it.
I love that.
We did, and we got an email from another therapist last week, just wanting to know more before he recommended Dateability to his patients. And so, yeah, it's really cool to see that network effect, and I'm very excited for the future.
Yep, because I think, therapists, like, they want to help us to fix this problem. But again, like, I'm not going on Bumble or going to the bar. Like, I don't really drink socially. Like, I like to drink, but I'm not going to go to the bar and meet my husband. That's like not, what I do. But, having this app and, finding out that people around the country are, available.
Yeah, it's really because, and I think some of the greatest feedback that we get is like, I can just finally be myself on the app, and I don't have to worry about these offensive comments that I'll receive, and I can just show the big picture of who I am, and that's just, people don't get the opportunity to do that a lot. So if we can create this change within Dateability and have it bleed into the rest of society and the disabled experience, we'll be very pleased.
Yeah, I really hope that's gonna be awesome in the future and help people, around the world.
Yes, and we can't wait for our first Dateability wedding.
Oh my God, yes!
So if anyone's, in a relationship or getting married, just send us a message and we'll come to your wedding.
So in the future, what do you think this is gonna be?
I think that we will be the go-to platform for the dating disability or chronic illness, because it's just such a robust community that the people are out there, and we've just heard it so many times, the negative experiences on the other. It just does not work for our community. And so we really do see us becoming the next Grinder, really changing lives as a whole, not just romantic.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have my best friend in Tampa, and he always goes on Grindr, and like he's like friends with all the gay guys. I'm like, what? I want to do that. Like, I'm jealous.
Yeah, now you can.
Now you can.
So that's cool that that you're about it, and I think in the future we have our disability community is so good, and they'll use it and share and recommend it, and that's amazing.
We've seen that, and it's really proven to us just like how great the community is and how strong we are. Everyone seems very supportive, and I had never really felt a part of the disability community before this. I just hadn't really put myself out there, and just wasn't like, I just didn't know anyone else who was disabled. It's really nice to feel like I belong, and that there are people who understand me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and where do you guys live?
We're in Denver.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really cool, and there is an interesting place to date as a disabled person, just like very activity based.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of like adaptive programs.
Awesome.
And a lot of disability centric organizations. So it's like we're blessed to be in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think having that adaptability, going on skiing, I want to do that. That's my bucket list.
It is like, watching Jacqueline be able to ski with the adaptive program with us for the first time in 6 years. It was really awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's gonna be the future, and it's only a year. It literally started a year ago, so that's really cool that you guys are just doing this, and and it's hard to get an app, and I have a best friend that has an app, and she is, it's challenging. It's not like, easy come.
No.
It's really hard.
It's hard. And so that's why we just are really relying on spreading the word and the network effect and people leaving positive reviews on the App Store, because it will help incline people to download. And so, yeah, we're grateful that you have the opportunity to spread the word, because we really appreciate it. And we're so glad we see each other.
Yeah, I was so excited that I found you, and then my therapist recommended it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that on the podcast. And I'm just so excited that, we're, working together and making the future more accessible and inclusive.
Yeah, us too.
Okay, well, that was an awesome podcast episode. Do you have any things to lead?
Well, everyone can download the app on Android or iPhone, or you can use your browser on your computer or laptop at dateapp.com. And, as always, if anyone needs anything, they can email us or DM us, and we'll always get back to you. We're just really excited, and we hope that everyone joins and finds love.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much to be on my podcast. I had such a great time, and I will forward you this video tonight. And I hope you had a great day. And I'm so excited for your app. It's really exciting. And I'm using it, so.
Everyone swipe on Courtney.
Yep. Yes!
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys. Thank you.